talking to a lot of like alumni from Michigan, a lot of people who've kind of been in my shoes, kind of going through this process, and a lot of people just kind of the common advice I was given was like if they had the opportunity I had, or if they had that chance to come back, they wish they would have taken it.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I guess I should say Happy Fat Tuesday. That was a Michigan linebacker, Micheal Barrett, number 23. Thanks to the mgoblue.com podcast for that audio. Barrett making that decision to come back for his 6th year at Michigan. I want to say pretty good decision by Micheal Barrett. Get back there and run it back with this Michigan team. Welcome in. We're running it back here after yesterday's show. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, being able to talk to Michigan fans, look at your feedback to see where you're at. And, today it is Fat Tuesday around the metro area. And we are going to be looking a lot at things that are going on with Michigan football. It is good afternoon, Michigan football. And we're live weekdays at 1 o'clock talking about the latest in Michigan sports. So that might not be that big of a surprise to you. This may be a little bit of a surprise to you. We got a little bit of breaking news that came out a little while ago. And it has to do with Michigan co-defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. The news comes down that Jesse Minter has interviewed with the Philadelphia Eagles for their defensive coordinator opening. Whoa. Just had a picture yesterday of Coach Minter with linebackers coach Chris Partridge. I have that picture up on the screen. And Coach Minter out there interviewing for the Philly job. I'm just going to keep it real. I hope he doesn't get the job. I say nothing against Jesse. If Jesse had been around for a minute, it's going to be, I think it sounds selfish in my head. So I'm pretty sure it's going to sound selfish as I say what I'm going to say. But I like, just like with basketball players last year for Michigan, Musa Diabate and Caleb Houston. And, those guys made their decisions and, they ended up cashing in, they're millionaires. So, who am I to say? This guy's great job, for them. But when guys, players come in, and it's specifically basketball, because in football, you have to stay around for 3 years. And I never hold it against anybody that leaves in football or basketball. It's their decision. But selfishly, I would like, it's good for the game. It's good for the game where you just have some name recognition. Like if Houston and Diabate would have come back, they'd say, hey, like these guys, let's see, you make that biggest jump from your freshman to sophomore season. And, no, it's coming in, highly decorated, those two guys. And they weren't, they didn't live up to those press clippings. This is what I'm saying. And you barely know them, and then they're gone. So I take it to the football side. And Mike McDonald came in last year from the Ravens as the defensive coordinator for Michigan, and he was fabulous. The defense was tremendous. They were attacking. And then McDonald 1 year, boom, he's gone. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, McDonald, you're nothing like that. Good luck to him. But, I want Jesse Minter to stay around. And I was thinking about with Jesse Minter and the news that he is interviewing with Philly, and if he would get that job, what it does is gives you an appreciation for that guy. If somebody wasn't doing any good, you'd say, yeah, so long, good luck, kind of thing. But out of all the things that went on with Michigan football last year, what was the biggest surprise? Was it the offense or the defense? I think we could all agree that it was the defense. Nobody was sitting around talking about the Michigan defense being better than it was the year before. The big things in the offseason last year were certainly the quarterback competition. That's always going to be talked about. You had the young gun, and you had the uh, the Big Ten champ and McNamara, and they're going to be going at it. But when you looked over to the defensive side, it was like, how are they going to replace the number 2 pick in the draft? How are they going to replace Ajabo and Dax Hill? This defense is going to take a step back. The offense is going to have to step up. The defense is going to have to do the best they can. But the defense, they not only replaced the production, they blew past it. They were a better defense. And a lot, I don't know how much, but I'll say a lot of that credit goes to Jesse Minter. Now, because he was in lockstep with Mike McDonald, give a little credit to McDonald, who actually changed up the defense to this 3-4 hybrid or whatever they do. So with Minter, that the blueprint is there and everything, but I'd like to see him stay around. This is a long way to say it. Maybe I just should have come out and said, look, I'd like to see Jesse Minter stay around for a couple more years before he takes off to the pros like McDonald last year. But we all know that you have to deal with these kind of things. If you got a coach, if you're having success and you have a coach that has had success, teams are going to come in there and they're going to be interested in him. So it's not a surprise that teams are interested in Jesse Minter. But I'll say it again. I hope Jesse Minter stays around for a little while. He did a great job last year with Michigan. It was a gigantic surprise to everyone how well Michigan played. So, you know what I'm saying? No, that's where it is with the news when it comes down to Minter's Monsters and Jesse and the Eagles and the Phillies and all of that. So stay tuned. We'll see how that ends up playing out. That would be a big loss for Michigan if Minter moved on to Philly. My thoughts. What else? Well, spring ball is underway. Started yesterday. Got some thoughts, some opinions on Michigan football and spring ball. I will look specifically who Michigan has to replace on offense in 23. And as promised from yesterday, we're going to talk about the future of the quarterback position at Michigan. And a lot of that has to do with recruiting. And pictured on the screen is a young buck signal caller named Cutter Boley. And we will be getting to him as well. But we know with Michigan's quarterback room right now, we know that it's J.J. McCarthy's job. And J.J. McCarthy, you're hoping he is going to be the starter against East Carolina on September the 3rd. And you hope that he is going to be the starter on November the 25th against Ohio State. And then a week later, again in the Big Ten title game. And then, is it New Year's Eve again? I'm not sure when the college football semifinal is going to be played next year. But you'd like to see J.J. McCarthy play in that game again. And, oh, yeah, you'd like to see Michigan make it to the championship game. We can all agree on that. And we know, and we're going to talk a lot about him in the spring, Davis Warren, number 16. We saw him in the spring game last year. Oh, he's on scholarship. Let's see him. Also in that room, you have the two youngsters, the redshirt freshman, Alex Orji. We've already been talking about Orji here on Good Afternoon Michigan Football. Jaden Denigal will also be somebody we'll have our eyes on at the spring game, and we'll be looking forward to hearing anything that comes out of practice regarding those two redshirt freshman quarterbacks. You'd like to hear something like, well, Denigal, you just wouldn't believe the arm that this guy has, the way that he's slinging it around. Or Orji is, it reminds everybody of Jalen Hurts. I mean, you'd like to hear some things like that. I'm making those things up, but those are the kind of things that you want to hear. But when we get to now the future after that, and did I mention Tuttle, the transfer from Indiana, the grad transfer? That's a nice, along with Warren and the two freshmen, That's a nice that's nice depth for U of M at the quarterback position. And you know how depth is. You don't really want to use the depth, but it's nice to have and in case of an emergency. Michigan in this upcoming recruiting class, as much as people want to look elsewhere, it's hard to talk about, this is it. This is Michigan's plan. Michigan's plan is Jaden Davis. Jaden Davis is a pro style quarterback out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Providence Day. He's a 5-star. Michigan has been on him since day one, and they continue to be on him. Michigan leads for Jaden Davis. I have my forecast, my second ever forecast. First one didn't work out through, but my second ever forecast is in for Michigan with Jaden Davis. It's all about Davis. Do they have a backup plan? Maybe. But it's to me, it's 98% Jaden Davis. If they were going to talk about some backups, this isn't a bad backup plan at all. Michael Van Buren, or as he is known online as MVB. MVB is a 4-star quarterback. He is ranked in the top 100, specifically number 59 overall by Rivals. He is out of Baltimore, Maryland. That would not be a bad number 2 option if things don't work out with Davis. But like I said, it's 98% Davis, 1% MVB, or maybe 1.5% MVB, however you want to break it down. I'll say 1.5% MVP. And then I'll put 0.5% chance on CJ Carr. For all the reasons that you might guess, including that Notre Dame also has a new offensive coordinator there in South Bend that always gives you a little wiggle room if you're a commit. And with the name Carr, you understand why I would put a 0.5% backup plan after the 1.5% backup plan along with MVB, but 98% with Jaden Davis. Now, that's how I see it for the immediate future for the quarterback position with Michigan. Jason says, being a former coach, Cutter Boley has the quarterback size Jim looks for, yet his long ball is moderate at best, and his upper body mechanics are all over the place when his feet have to come into play. All right, Cutter Boley is, we jump ahead for a year, and I have his profile thumbnail up on the screen, a 4-star quarterback in 2025, ranked 90th nationally, 6'5", 200 pounds, out of Lexington Christian Academy in Kentucky. So we go back to what Jason is saying. Jason says Harbaugh likes that size, 6'5". But Jason, I don't know, like, you know, if Jason, this is just his own opinion, or if he has seen, I don't know, say some experts or some of the recruiting fodder or people that actually are scout the high school players are saying that his deep ball has something to be desired, calling it moderate at best, and also regarding his mechanics. He's a young guy. I'll take your word for that, Jason, wherever you're getting that from. I'm just I don't know. I have not yet gone into the evaluation of looking at high school football players on tape and looking at and wondering about the mechanics and deep ball. Certainly, JP adding that he's not saying he's bad. He just would expect more from the high school coaching staff. Perfect example. Look at his arm placement while throwing in that picture. Throwing in that picture, you're talking about this picture. Let's see. Yeah, well, it's a lot different nowadays. If we were sitting here 5 years ago, I would be all about arm angle, and but the way that quarterbacks play the game now, Arm angle, that looks like any number of Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford. Quarterbacks drop their arms down, nowadays, or throw it from different angles. And I know he's a young guy, so you'd like to see the super, proper mechanics, but I don't know, like the way it goes down. And I'm just looking at the picture right now, but it can give us 8,000 words when it comes down to it. Okay, let's see what some others have to say about the future of the quarterback position. Jason says he's been hearing a lot of Ohio State rumors on Davis. Well, if you're dealing with a bunch of ne'er-do-wells and the Philistines when it comes down to Southern Ohio, you're going to they deal with a lot of rumor and innuendo, and they're always trying to see what they can cook up and scheme and lie about down in Southern Ohio. So that you've been hearing a lot of scarlet and gray rumors, those guys will say anything to anybody about anything that could favor them. So sure, I think that you are going to hear a lot about Davis. The thing I wonder the most about Davis, and I hate to bring this up because everything's, all fun. And actually, all the rundown that I have, everything was just a big smiley face and a lot of fun here. I have thought all along, even though my forecast is in for Jaden Davis, I believe that Michigan could have already secured his commitment if it wasn't for Jim Harbaugh and his actions in January with the NFL. I think I don't know if it turned off Davis, but it certainly gave him reason for pause. And you can completely understand that. Hey, I want to go play for Jim Harbaugh. I want to go play for Michigan. Jim Harbaugh's, I don't need to reset all of that. But the one thing that's still active with Jim Harbaugh is that there's no signature on a new contract. And we remember when it was all January and, it was going to be done. And here was another, message from the president and all this stuff. And, I talk to the former players and they're like, well, there's more than just Harbaugh. There's all of these other coaches at Michigan, and all these other contracts. Look, it's been long enough. Why isn't Harbaugh, how come he hasn't signed on the dotted line? If you said to me, like, maybe Harbaugh is just going to play it out because he wants to go to the NFL next year and he wants a little small buyout. And if he knows if he signs this new deal, yeah, he's going to get more money, but it's going to eliminate any future that he has and a chance to go to the NFL. So he may just stay with the contract that he has. Now, I don't know if that's the case. Maybe he'll sign by this weekend and we don't have to worry about any of that. But until he does, that particular speculation, I think, is fair. And I also think it's very fair if you're Jaden Davis and you're like, I'm going to have to explore some other options because it looks like Harbaugh is exploring other options. So, that's just there. Whether you completely disagree with that and you're saying, no, you got it all wrong. Okay, I'll admit that I could have it all wrong on that. But like what Jason is saying here, it gives hope to somebody like, the weasel that is their head coach, Ryan Day. You don't think third base and company is out there like, hey, Jim's gone? That's exactly what third base is doing. So let's just see what happens with that situation. Jason indicating that Carr already signed. You mean Carr already committed? Because signing day is a long ways away, isn't that right? Or is there some kind of signature that you can put out 6 months or a year before, 10 months before when it comes down to it? You could be right, Jason. He's committed. He definitely is committed. Jason says with some good coaching, teaching, mentorship, the kid could grow into being a really good QB. This is talking about Cutter. He just has to work hard. or harder. Those mechanics will get him in trouble at the college level. Okay. Andres is starting to question my recruiting chops as an analyst. Yeah. Well, as a forecaster, I'm batting 0. So I think I would question that. When it comes down to, I didn't even realize till like these last 6 months, like I knew there were recruiting dudes, like people that work in this business as recruiting analysts. What I thought mostly that those recruiting analysts were doing were, just calling up coaches, calling up families, mentors, and, saying, hey, well, what's going on with Cutter Boyle? And they'll say, oh, yeah, Michigan. And, you got your sources and you're talking to the coach and they're telling you and everything else. But the way that it looks like now is a lot of these analysts are all, not all, are also, they're weighing in on, what kind of prospect that these players are. Certainly like Rivals and, the other sites will have their rankings. But now, I see in the last 6 months that some of these dudes are out there and they're kind of like, little GMs, little scouts. Like, and they're weighing in like, no, this guy's not all that. So, I have not yet to, analyze the players in terms of, putting my own ranking or 2 cents in on, whether they're overrated or underrated or anything else. Right now, I've just been dealing with the forecasting part with things that I hear here and there from good sources. But I understand why you're questioning me. OT is making a point, and let's look back at Cutter Boley, and how he is on the radar. He is on the radar. That's what I'm saying right here. He's on the radar for Michigan. Who is also on the radar is somebody who's on my radar big time. And OT is saying, I just want Underwood. He is better than all of those guys. Well, Underwood is Bryce Underwood, and he is a quarterback at Belleville. And I just looked at the rankings last night. There's a kid that's Jaden Davis's teammate named Sanders. He's the number 1 overall prospect for next year. Number 2 is Underwood. But, I would like to think that Jaden Davis and Sanders, and there's another player or 2 that all play at Charlotte and Providence, that they're all coming to Ann Arbor. I mean, I'm holding out hope on all of that. But then Underwood is in Michigan's own backyard. And the first time that I saw a video of Underwood was probably at this time last year. And it was like a 10-second video. And how I mentioned like Boley throwing sidearm, I think it was a no-look type pass that I saw from Underwood, who was wearing maize and blue shoes or maize and blue socks or had a Michigan towel. Maybe he had all of those things, but he was zipping the pass in there to Michigan freshman Samaj Morgan was on the receiving end. So you're like, Michigan, Underwood. Now, where Michigan is at with Underwood, what Jim Harbaugh thinks about Bryce Underwood, Michigan, when it came down to the highly coveted Dante Moore, we all know how that ended up working out. And if Dante Moore, not to bring up the NIL pay for play type situation again, but if Dante Moore was ringing the cash register, Underwood's going to be ringing the cash register as well. So maybe we're seeing a departure for Michigan. Like they're not going to put all their eggs in the Underwood basket. They'll recruit him. But if it's coming down to when they make the call and the first thing that Underwood, and I'm not saying that he's doing this, but I could see how it could be happening. You get involved in the recruitment of Underwood, and whoever's handling him was like, well, how much money are we talking about? It's like, wait, right from the start? And then Michigan could be like, okay, we're moving on. That could happen. Could be. I don't know that again. That is all speculation and conjecture for me, but I think pretty solid if you've been paying attention with how this is going. Jason getting into a little evaluation back and forth, asking OT, you think Underwood is better than Davis? I don't know, man. Well, if we're just looking at the rankings, Underwood they're both 5 stars, and Davis was right up there. I mean, we're talking about splitting hairs when it's coming down to the rankings. Underwood, I could look up his size. Underwood's more of a prototypical. I mean, I saw him. What was he, a sophomore last year or even a freshman when I was watching him throw that pass? He looked like he was he looked like Andrew Luck. You know, big, thick legs, size, zipping the ball in there, no look. I was like, wow, look at this guy. A Dante Culpepper from back in the day. A mix between Andrew Luck and Dante Culpepper when I was watching Underwood throw the ball. It's like, wow, this guy's unbelievable. So, in Davis is more compact, listed at 6 feet. Can zip it around a little bit. So it depends what you're looking for. Now, OT might be looking for that prototypical size. And, Jason looking at the playmaking ability and also the bird in the hand, because Michigan is in really solid. They might not end up getting him, even though I think they're going to, in Jaden Davis. But we don't know when it comes down. Underwood is, one of these guys that everybody in the country is going to be on. And because we're not hearing all these great things about Michigan right now, it makes you think that he could not. Sometimes guys, I know it's just weird to think, because I don't think this myself. Even though he's right down the road in Belleville, which is in the backyard of Ann Arbor, he might not like Michigan. I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why anybody wouldn't like Michigan, but it might not have anything to do with money. I don't know. Maybe he just wants to go somewhere else. Who knows when it comes down to that? The coach, we have heard what he's been thinking about when it comes down to the quarterbacks. And here he is. He weighs in. Jaden Davis. If he comes, he comes. If he don't, oh well. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it one more time. There is a former player that I haven't talked with him for over a month now. But Antoine, it's like, and maybe he is you, because that's what he says every time. He says that about all of them. Like, he really likes recruiting, but if a guy doesn't want to come to Michigan or is like kind of stringing Michigan along, you don't want anything to do with him. He's not playing that game. You want to come to Michigan? Come to Michigan. If you don't, see ya. And I know you're kind of, it really appears that you're that way as well. I'm more, flexible when it comes down to that. Like, look, these are big decisions. These are tough decisions. A lot of things going on and all of that. And, you have to play for it. Jason talking about pay for play. He says it seems to him that Davis is looking for the big payday. If he wasn't, what else is he waiting for? Well, I mentioned the Harbaugh situation. He could be waiting for that to settle, because it's not settled right now. So that's what he could be waiting for. I feel like every 5-star and every top 100 player is looking at the money like this. I want it. I've earned it. Nothing is guaranteed in football. We know this. I have earned a 5-star ranking. Other players, and I know they look at Rashada and 13 million, but they're looking at he had to settle for 3. When I'm hearing $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million, $5 million before you ever even put a uniform on or step foot on campus. And people are like, But the money, look, I think that all of these guys, if there's one that's not, there's always exceptions to the rule. But just think about it. Are you really going to say, you know, I don't need the 2 or 3 million in a year? I get a $90,000 truck. In 2 years, if things are going well, who knows? Maybe 250,000. If I'm starting by year 3, that's when the money starts to roll in. 3 years. Instead, I got somebody saying, look, we've got 250K out in our back seat right now. When you sign, we'll give you another 250K. And then next month, we'll give you another 250K. I don't know how they do it. Something like that. And you don't have to say anything about the 250 that we give you that's in the back seat. Just take it. Now, I know that's dirty pool. I know that. But I also know that it's going on. And I feel like 99% of the guys that are ranked in the top 100, they're playing that game. So, yeah, Davis is looking for a big payday, just like everybody else. Everybody's looking for a big payday. All of them. Show me a guy that's not looking for a big payday. I know the idea. Like, I heard it was Trevor McHugh from the Maize and Blue Review. We were talking about it, 2 weeks ago, and he's like, if a guy is really just going to be all about the money, and it's just okay, I get that, and I think that's a lot of what Michigan's stance is. Like, we don't want guys that are just looking for the biggest money, but how about any money? Some money. You don't have to ring the bell as having the most, or have the bag of cash in the back seat right now. But, is Michigan really, is their approach really like, come to Michigan, and then in a couple years, you can make as much or double as anybody else? Again, this is what's going on. Now, I don't want to make it seem like everything's all negative. NIL has worked out great for Michigan right now. And more of that to come here as we take a look at Michigan's offense and who they have to replace. Michigan has been able to keep guys around, and it's because of NIL. Michigan has worked with what they have right now for this team coming up this year, along with the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness. The name, image, and likeness is going great for Michigan. Now, if you're thinking about down the line, which we're talking about, 24 and 25, and the 23 recruiting class, that's where you get into, is Michigan, are they falling behind, or how far, or do they have to play ball? All that kind of stuff. But as it sits right now, it's great. In fact, you can't even make an argument that it's not great from where it sits right now, unless you want to be like, yeah, but what about next year? Okay, well, then we're talking about this year. I'm talking about this year, not next year. This year, NIL has been great. Yeah, I don't. Give me the sales pitch on Michigan's NIL plan. I think I just gave it. Hey, look at Colston Loveland. He got a $90,000 truck. He played great as a freshman. That's Michigan's plan. And, if he continues to play great, who knows? He could get a couple $100,000. If it's a quarterback, maybe you can get $1 million by the time you're. That's not how other teams are playing it. Other teams are saying, here's $2 million. We got 250 for you in the back seat right now. Right now. Not in 2 years. Now. Like 134 on Tuesday. On Fat Tuesday. We got a bunch of punchkis in the back seat for you. But there's actually not punchkis in there. It's a bunch of $100 bills. All right. AJ likes the MVB. Likes MVB. Leo jumping in. He read that Minter has interviewed for the Philadelphia DC position. Yes, we've gone over there, Leo. Let me state it as quickly as I can. I don't want Jesse Minter going anywhere. I hope he's not just a one and done at Michigan. I hope he's coaching the defense as the co-defensive coordinator next year for Michigan. It's great that he was able to go out there, and it says a lot about just what he did last year, but I hope he doesn't get the job. OT wants MVP this year and Underwood next year. Well, OT, I want myself, if we're just going to go ahead and say what we want, I want a Creamfield Punchki I want Jaden Davis this year and Underwood next year. That's what I want. So we're not so far apart, you and I. AJ says Underwood seems nice, but he hasn't fully checked him out. Yeah, that's right. AJ, I watched, it's really a 15-second clip of him. But what I could see in the 15-second clip, I see the size. I see the frame on him. He looks like off the top. I don't have his measurements, but if it said he was 6'3", 220, 215, that's what he looked like. And he looked like Andrew Luck standing back there at the pocket. And then he was looking this way and he threw the ball 20 yards on a line to the back of the end zone and found Samaj Morgan. It was a nice looking pass. That was a nice highlight. Very nice highlight. So I would say I have not fully checked him out either. Andre says no one should be shocked that Minter is interviewing. He should. Question is, who will Michigan promote and hire for DC? Well, Michigan has a DC, a co-defensive coordinator, Steve Clinkscale. So there's your answer. It's like when Weiss left. Now the question would be, would there be another co with Klink? Or would Klink just be the DC? That's what the big question would be. Because last year it was Weiss more, and now it's just more. And last year it was Minter Klink, and now it would just be Klink. So they might go that route out there. Let's see what some others are saying. Maybe I should have just said, let's just talk quarterbacks, because the quarterback stuff is continuing just to bring in a lot of people that are talking about the QBs. Like BN, who says once the player is on campus, Michigan actually has one of the best NIL programs. The problem is they don't have anything set up before they get on campus. Other schools have this upfront money. That's very well said. Exactly, BN. You've got it. You've nailed it. OT thought Harbor was the exception, but then, boom, he hired a firm. Yeah, I thought so too, OT. I had to bring you up. Can't go a day without bringing up Harbor. Why hand a high school kid a big bag of money when he hasn't proven his worth yet on the field? I don't know. It's the age-old question. Go ahead and ask Alabama. Ask Ohio State. Ask all the teams that have been doing it for a long time. And look, you want to know how you get, these great recruiting classes over and over and over again? You pay the high school players. And then also you win. Now, one of those programs that is just winning and they're not doing anything, or is it just their boosters and the coaches aren't looking? That's what I think is going on. And they also have the advantage now, like you've seen some of the stories about, I don't know if it was Ohio State. Ohio State's been involved in that a little bit, but Nick Saban and even Georgia, we're not getting involved in these multi-million-dollar. Oh, yeah, you're not getting involved. But your boosters who have already been in on handing guys money beforehand, you already have the system set up. It sounds easy. Doesn't it sound easy, like right now, to say, let's say I had $1 million and I wanted the top running back. I was looking yesterday. There's a kid out east who's looks like he's the undecided 24 running back. What if I just went in there and like, boom, here's $1 million? Everyone's like, let's go, let's do it. Well, because the way Michigan has played things, if I have that million, I better set half of it over here. I better just take 500,000 and I better immediately hand the other 500,000 to Donovan Edwards. Because if I was Donovan Edwards and Michigan went out and signed a running back to a $1 million NIL deal before he ever carries the ball, I would be like, you guys better give me twice that much, or I better be getting my million, or I'm out. There are a lot of teams in this country that are going to give me $1 million to transfer. Where's mine? So that's a little delicate balance. That's part of it. I haven't seen people talking about that, but that seems to be, to me, part of, when they talk about this could ruin the chemistry, like, where's mine? Yes, Michigan wants them to prove something first, but the other teams are like, you've proven it in high school. Not every number one quarterback or first-round quarterback works out, but they keep taking them. I mean, look at the Jets. Zach Wilson, the guy's a complete bust. Trey Lance got hurt, but you start going down, like there's it used to be like a 50-50 proposition for first-round QBs. Now it seems like it's like a third of them make it, and 2/3 are busts. And it's like that with 5 stars too. But boy, if you can get one, like a Joe Burrow, they're worth their weight in gold. A J.J. McCarthy. Something like that. That's it. Chase thinks Cutter Boley sounds like a 60s player or something. Cutter Boley seems like it's made up. It seems like we're casting for a movie, and we're going to call him Cutter Boyle. Who was I just looking at? And I was looking at their kids. The first name might have been named Rifle or something. And the kid's dad was the former quarterback, named his kid Rifle. I think I knew what was going on there. All right. Well, we could sit here and do this all day. How about this? Boom, boom. Michigan football spring practice. Now, this is a word of warning. Over the next month or so, I am going a lot like Iverson. I'm going to just talk practice. Here's a video from practice yesterday. Let's watch it.
Great today. Let's go.
Ellamy. Instagram.
Come on, outside.
85. Roman Wilson. Ooh, the number 1. Woo! Really? Blink. AJ. There it is. That's all we're going to get. That's all we got. I like it. The only thing I would say to Michigan, I want more of those. Those are really nice. I want more. At least one a day. But I wouldn't mind 2 or 3 a day. Come on, you get all those guys out there with the cameras? Let's go. That was great. I want more from Michigan football practice. Now, they did put out some pictures. So they could say, hey, why don't you check our Twitter feed? I did. And for that, let's go to it. The Michigan Twitter feed. It said, Michigan football feels good to be back. And I've identified who I think are all of these players and coaches that are pictured. Upper left, Braden McGregor. Keon Sabb. That looks like a number 3 to me. And AJ Henning wears number 3. But since it looks like a picture of the defense, and I know what Henning looks like. I don't really know exactly what Keon Sabb looks like. I think that's Keon Sabb and Braden McGregor. This next picture has 4 players all together. This one seemed a little bit easier for me. Clearly, this is Chris Jenkins. He's got a 94 jersey on that says Jenkins on the back. Mason Graham, I know what he looks like. And he wears the double nickel. There he is, 55. Also, Cam Good, 6'2", 315 pounds, the UCF in Va Tech transfer, number 99. He's pretty easy to spot there. Now, who is this? Could that be a 26? Because it looks like a 76, but I can't really see the number. But I know these guys are all interior defensive linemen. And Rayshon Benny, that kind of looks like Rayshon Benny. I'm not 100% sure that that's Rayshon Benny, but if I had to bet, I would say that that's Rayshon Benny. Now, what are my thoughts on these photos? I'm going to give you some quick thoughts. One, out of all of these pictures, and McGregor, I think, is going to be, could be. I'm going to say could be. I was going to say going to be a star. I think he could be. He's a nice candidate. You know, he looks like so much like Aiden Hutchinson. It's almost like that is Aiden Hutchinson. Hopefully he gets close to being that kind of player. He had some nice timing, swatting balls down. He flashed late in the year. But Jenkins, if you told me that he put on 20 pounds of muscle, this is just a view from Jenkins from the back. He just looks like a professional. He looks great. Graham had a great freshman season. Sky's the limit for this guy. You want to start talking about, hey, you think Graham can be, yeah, he was great last year. He'll be great this year. Good only had a few snaps. Rayshon Benny has looked good in the times that he has been in there. Good looks good. I like that. So there you go. And then I came to this guy who's pictured, and he's wearing what I thought was number 76. And I looked at the roster, and Ryan Hayes wore 76 last year. That's not Hayes. He's not back. And I thought, well, maybe somebody else changed numbers. Then I started going through with a little detective work, and I saw that Michigan had on their roster a kid named Peter Simmons. And he wore number 75. And then I looked a little closer, and I'm like, I guess that could be a 75. And then they had a thumbnail picture. His hair's combed back, and he looks a little cleaner in the photo. He's shaven. But I said, okay, that is Simmons. Then I looked at his profile, and he was an outstanding offensive lineman in Bonita Springs, Florida. But then on the spring roster, he's listed as a defensive lineman. But if you look at this picture, if you look here in the background, that sure does look like Trevor Keegan. And knowing that he was an offensive lineman, I think maybe he switched to defensive line maybe last year. That's why Go Blue had him there. But I think he's back as an offensive lineman. Could you be a defensive lineman kneeling down with other offensive linemen? Sure. Anything is possible. But I am putting 2 and 2 together and saying that he is back as a offensive lineman. The one thing, Peter is I don't know if a preferred walk-on, whatever it is. He's on the team. He's got the picture here. But I was reading his bio, and in the bio, it says Peter's great-grandfather helped dig out the bowl for Michigan Stadium in the 20s. And I thought, wow, now that is a real nice factoid. That's something like you're a broadcaster, you see that, you're rolling that one out there. Peter Simmons, great-grandfather, helped Yost dig the hole that Canham carpeted, and that both filled up every Saturday, and that Harbaugh has now rung up 2 Big Ten championships with. The Big House. Simmons, nice job. And then the 2 coaches here, the newly acquired Chris Partridge, linebackers coach, talking with Jesse Minter, Michigan co-defensive coordinator, who hopefully stays as Michigan's defensive coordinator. Right? That's what we're talking about here? That's it. We could talk NIL and quarterbacks all day long. Not sustainable, whether it's unsustainable or not. What I think could be sustainable is being a selective signing bonus team. Like, let's just say Michigan selectively. They weren't going out. They're not Texas A&M or doing ringing up everybody with cash. But how about just look at the quarterback position? How about pay for play for the quarterback position? I don't know if you got to target a position, that's the one I would be going after. That's what I would be doing. Everybody's got their opinion on how to do it or what's happening and what it's going to be. I don't think there's ever been a truer line that has been written here by Antoine, who says after spring practice is over, I imagine the transfer portal is going to be off the hook. Oh yeah. Like Michigan has, I think 100 players on scholarship right now. You're only supposed to have 85, so I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know where everybody's going. I don't know what's happening. I haven't been able to figure that part out. Too bad the Minter news didn't come earlier. Maybe we could have kept Hilo. Yeah, I was going to say Michigan. I'm not. Look, if there's another, I was looking at the list of DCs that Philly, just because you're being interviewed doesn't mean he's going to get the job. Like he's one of, I thought, at least 4 that I saw. So I mean, there's I don't know, is it a 25% chance? I don't know what kind of interview he's going to give. So all the other guys had great qualifications, just like Minter. And again, Minter, we don't want Jesse Minter to go. Jesse Minter, I'm hoping, does not get the job. And if he's watching this, I'm going to have to apologize to him and his family. If, they want to go pro and, they want to get back to the league and everything else. How about in a couple of years, Jesse? How about at least 2 more years? And then go out. I mean, it's a tough spot. Like here I am. Like if you told me that Philadelphia was going to be in the Super Bowl next year, and look at the defense that he's got to work with. I don't think Jesse is going to turn it down if they said, we want you, because the guy in the Maize and Blue Review wants you to stay around and didn't just want you to stay for 1 year. I think he understands my predicament. All right, we've got something else to get to, and that has to do with spring ball as well. If you look at Michigan's offense that is going to be coming back this year, there are 11 players that you start on offense. Michigan has 7 returning, and they have lost 4 starters. How will they do in terms of replacing their 4 starters? Well, that's what we are here to discuss. We'll see where you are at. Here are the players that they lost. Ronnie Bell, captain. Luke Schoonmaker at tight end. Ryan Hayes on the offensive line. Left tackle. Center. Oluwatimi, gone. Now, there can be more than one player. Like specifically, let's go to start out with wide receiver. You wanted to say, you know what? Michigan's got Roman Wilson and A.J. Henning and the trio of freshmen there. It's not just Kojo, but I put Kojo because Bell was a returning guy last year as a senior, and Kojo is coming back. I think Kojo can fill the shoes of Ronnie Bell. Liked Ronnie Bell, but I think Kojo can be there. I'm saying that that they're in a good spot here. At tight end, I really liked Eric All. But Luke Schoonmaker filled in tremendously for All. And when Schoonmaker, and because All was out with a back injury and has now moved on to Iowa, Colston Loveland, the true freshman, got in there and he smashed it as a freshman. And so with Schoonmaker gone, Loveland, I think, can fill the shoes of Schoonmaker. I don't know. I've said great a few times this afternoon. I'm going to say it. I think Colston Loveland can be a great college tight end. Pretty good one right now. Colston Loveland can be a great playmaking, awesome. I don't know. What else could you say? I like Colston Loveland. I think he can be great. So I think that he can fill the shoes of Schoonmaker. Left tackle. Remember, Michigan had brought in the Magnificent Seven. A lot of the guys were the offensive linemen. And you see why. Because here's one in Ladarius Henderson, who is a grad transfer from Arizona State. He could be your left tackle. Or it could be Carson Barnhart, who started over at right tackle last year. Or it could be the guy who was in the two deep, number 79, Jeff Piercy, who got in there and got a start when Hayes was banged up. So the spring is going to be big for left tackle. Take your pick on who you end up, thinking that it's going to be. And, Antoine mentioned the transfer portal. You might have 3 starting left tackles here, college left tackles. Now, that'd be great if they all want to stay and, get their chance, work at the two deep, whatever else, competition, iron, steel. What is it, the saying? Steel sharpens iron. I think that's what it is. All that is true, but, the guy that doesn't get the job or certainly isn't in the mix in the two deep, I could see hitting the transfer portal. Oluwatimi was great last year. Michigan went to the transfer portal out to Stanford and got Drake Nugent. He would be my pick, but remember, Michigan's got Reese Atterbury, and they have Raheem Anderson and Greg Crippen. Are all of those guys, I believe, are still on the roster. And to Antoine's point, I don't know if all those guys are going to be on the roster after spring shakes down at center and whoever it ends up being. Now, that's the way that I look at it when it comes down to the offense. I'm going to read some feedback here in the remaining minutes. I do want to tell everybody, if they want to know about coaching changes, recruiting, who's coming, who's going, football, basketball, the latest news, everything going on with a spring portal all in one place for you on the Maize and Blue Review, join up. Go to michigan.rivals.com. You can see it on the crawl here. You can subscribe to the Maize and Blue Review, and you get that access today. And that's the way that it is done. Now, let's get back to some of the feedback. Blank says, if you're going to give away millions to a high school player, he better be the next Bo Jackson. It doesn't work like that, but I understand what you're saying. JM says, when you pay a young high school kid money up front, there's always going to be the thought of, this kid, did he really commit to Michigan? Is his heart really into it? I know exactly what you're saying there, Jason. I mean, that's what Michigan people are saying. That's what, so people who, let's say, there's a lot of people that love Michigan, but there's a specific Michigan fan who doesn't want to get involved in any of this kind of stuff. They don't even like the NIL, but they certainly don't want to get involved with everybody else, giving them money. They want them to come in because it's Michigan, not because Michigan is offering, some kind of signing bonus. And, that has been Michigan's stance. Like, there have been people before NIL that said, look, Michigan should get involved like everybody else. Nobody's doing anything about it. Can't stop it. And now it's even become easier. So everybody's like, do it. Can't stop it. I mean, it's been the same old thing. But there's a lot of people that are like, no. We get that part. I get that part. I understand where it all comes from. Dave says all of this works without issue in every workplace everywhere. You don't want a tier system due to team chemistry. Yeah. Richard, team chemistry is important, and it's changing. It's changing rapidly. College is becoming a lot like pro football in that. Just look at Michigan. Last year at this time, Jim Scarcelli, who's going to join us tomorrow, he was looking at teams that brought a bunch of players into the transfer portal, and he said this is going to cause a lot of issues on the team. You got young guys that have been there fighting their ass off for a year, 2 years, sometimes 3 years or more, and then you're just going to bring someone in from the transfer portal, and that guy's going to win a job. That's going to create a lot of hard feelings. And that is going to create a lot of hard feelings. But Michigan, because they decided not to, understand, get involved with the money up front, they decided that they could get into the transfer portal, and they pulled the Magnificent Seven out. It's going to create some hard feelings. That's going to create team chemistry issues. hey, and whatever you want to say, strongest survive, the best players play. This is football. This is competition. But you can also say, hey, man, you signed up to, you loved Michigan, and now you're getting ready to get your job. Now they're bringing somebody in to take your job. Those are tough things. That's real. And that's where it's like in the pros. I think about this last year's Lions team. You watched them in the preseason on Hard Knocks, and a guy like Jamal Williams, like, you just loved him. Like, he wore his heart on his sleeve. Remember when he fumbled that one game down at the goal line? He was beside himself, but he's like, hey, he loves the Lions, and he's a free agent. The Lions could be like, they're going to just move out and find somebody cheaper. Hopefully they keep Jamal Williams, but it's like that, man. You could be here and in a good position, and then the next day, boom, somebody could be coming in, and it works the other way. Guys could be eyeballing that transfer portal, and they could be out. So that chemistry part, Harbaugh's good at that. I mean, Harbaugh's good at almost everything. He's really good because he was a pro and, handling all those different factions and levels and free agents and undrafted free agents and rookies that get paid a lot of money, all of that, balancing those things, kind of things going on in college football right now. Harbaugh will be pretty good at that. We'll take a few more on the feedback here as we've gone past now an hour. I do want to ask everybody before I go any further, if you do not subscribe to the Maize and Blue review of this particular podcast, I would ask for you to do that. By the end of this month, today is the 21st, so we only have 7 days. So in a week, we're getting close to 3,000 subscribers. I would like to get to 3,000 subscribers by March 1st. We're only, 60 some odd shy. But if you have not subscribed, please do that. And if you have subscribed and you know a Michigan fan or two in your life, say, hey, I would like for them to sample the broadcast. But we're looking for those numbers as well. It's free to subscribe. Go over there, subscribe. It's going to really help us out. It's going to really help us continue on what we're doing here. And for this next week, I will encourage you to do that. If we get to the end of the month, we're sitting here shy of 3,000, I'll just cry on the air. Josh Henske will be like, your tears didn't work. We'll see if that happens or not. Ooh, let's see where we're at here. Antoine remembers when Michigan used to play teams like Wisconsin and other teams when they had a bunch of seniors and they were tough to beat. Michigan is on pace to roll out a bunch of veterans. Yeah, Michigan's got this upcoming season. Michigan is going to have an outstanding team. Michigan has an outstanding team on paper. The one thing about this particular year, like, you could have said, would you have rather had 3 or 4 5 stars and 4 stars in this class, or do you want the Magnificent 7? Well, the 5 stars, it would have made the 24 and 25 season. You'd think, wow, man, it's going to be good in the future. But with the Magnificent 7, Ernest Hausman is like getting a 5-star from 2 years ago. Josiah Stewart from Coastal Carolina, he was like getting a 5-star from 2 years ago. Drake Nugent was like getting a 5-star. Just like getting Olu last year was looked at. I look at it the same thing with Nugent. 3 5-stars. You want to say, nah, those guys are highly 4. All right. But that's the point. What are you talking about, Jason? 26 is Benny. Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was a 26 or not. I couldn't see. We got a rumor. Heard Jenkins is over 300 pounds. 300 pounds of, he looks good. That 300, he carries the 300 well. You got to tell him. He carries that 300 well. Antoine loves McGregor. You can tell how far behind I am when people are talking about stuff that I was talking about like a half hour ago. That means I just have not been able to stay up with the feedback. Richard is looking to the freshman tight end. Well, what are we talking about? You've got Loveland and Marlon Klein, who redshirted last year. And then you're right, they brought two guys in that will be freshmen this year, Zach Marshall and the Deacon Tonelli. Yeah. One of those guys will probably be the next Loveland. What did I say, Antoine? Iron, if steel sharpens iron? You're right. Iron sharpens iron. That is the saying. That is the saying. That's it. OT thinks Henderson will move to guard. Guard's all set. Here's Louise. What's new with recruiting a quarterback? I'll reference the beginning of the show, and after about a half hour, you'll be able to see all of that. It's all there, man. It's there for you. You'll have to dig through the tape, but it'll be pretty easy because you'll just say, oh, here's where he talked about the quarterbacks. Boom. That'll be in the rundown in the podcast. That will be in the rundown right here on YouTube. After the show, I look and I see who liked the show. And I say, okay, well, people got some likes. Then I go through the show and then I make a rundown for you where if you just want to know about the QBs, you'll be able to go right there. I say listen to the whole thing. It's an hour and 7 minutes long. You got 20 minutes to drive home from work. Cue it up in the car. That's what I do. No commercials on here. It's the Maize and Blue Review. You know that I tell you that you should get the Maize and Blue Review if you're not already there. And so that should be going through your mind. Maybe I should be getting the Maize and Blue Review. But no, I'm not selling anything else. So take care of that. You got to go to the grocery store, get some of those, get your headphones on. 45 minutes to the grocery store, you're listening to me talk about the Michigan 2 Deep. And you're listening to what OT has to say as I read his feedback. And I comment on his tattoos, which I've never done before. They look pretty cool. Just because you're a vet doesn't mean you're good. That's right. Thumbs up to you, Richard. If I could push, I have a little star. My only regret, there's a few, but on this particular show, I would like that when the feedback comes through, if I could I put the feedback up on the screen, I would like to be able to push a little star next to it. That's what I like. So don't forget, ask the people that know anything about Michigan or like to know anything about Michigan to subscribe to the show. If you have not, please do that. And we will be back here tomorrow at 1:00, and we will have Jim Scarcelli with us, the coach, at 1:00. Until then, everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then. Hopefully that ice storm doesn't affect us. Keep an eye out for that. Bye.